So we will be going over week 5, the practice questions, on especially focusing on geometry. All right, let's get started here. So we have find the perimeter. So we're looking at perimeter, meaning we are looking for this side and also this side. But notice that we have an angle of 60 degrees. This should give us the hint regarding um, one special right triangle, as we can see right here. I'm going to write that down. Uh, if this is a right angle and then this is 60, then opposite of 60 was radical 3, and opposite of 30 becomes 1, opposite of 90 is 2. This will be the ratio of the uh, 30, a special right triangle, 30, 60, 90. And then you will realize that in place of radical 3, you have 6. That means what are we going to have for this value? So let's call this one as x. Now, but the relationship between this one to this one will be 2 times of that, so therefore this will be equal to 2x. Now, then what we can do is this here, x to 1 is in fact equal to 6 over square root of 3. Now, when you rationalize the denominator, you gotta multiply by the same number here. We end up getting 6 radical 3 over 3 is the value that we get. But when you cancel out 3's, we'll end up getting 2 square root of 3. That's the value for the value of x here. So we have 2 square root of 3, which makes this one to be 2 times of that for square root of 3. Now, since we're looking for the perimeter, we have to add up this value, and also for this value. Then what are we going to get? We'll end up getting 2 square root of 3 plus 4 square root of 3 plus 6. Here, because both of them have square root of 3's, we will end up having 6 square root of 3. And that will be equal to perimeter. Now, plus 6. Therefore, that becomes our final answer. All right, let's look at number 2. Here, a square is inscribed in a circle as shown, and what is the area of the circle? Now, the area of the square is 8. Okay, so how are we going to do this one? Among many things which you can do, if you realize the relationship between the square and then the circle, then that will be the best. For example, we will realize that there it goes. Diagonal of the square is in fact equal to the diameter of the circle. Now, but in order for us to find this one, what's going to be happening is this area is equal to 8. So then if you have to call this, and then what we want to find out is the area of the circle. So let us call this one is equal to r, and then whole thing becomes 2r, therefore. But you will see the relationship in a way that since this is equal to 2r and area is equal to 8, what do we call this one as equal to x, and here is equal to x. The relationship between these three sides will have been x squared plus x squared will be equal to 2r squared by the Pythagorean theorem. But here you will realize that x squared in fact is the area of the square. So therefore we end up getting 8 plus 8 is equal to 4r squared. Now then we end up getting here 16 is equal to 4r squared, where r squared becomes simply 4. Since r squared is equal to 4, then what is the area of the circle? That would have been equal to, area of the circle becomes 4 pi, because pi r squared. There it goes. Now, another way of looking at it would have been something like this. Since we know that the area is equal to 8, then the second method which we could have done is that each side would have been square root of 8. Now, square root of 8, when you simplify, it becomes 2 square root of 2. Now, since one side is 2 square root of 2, and the other side is 2 square root of 2, you should be able to figure out the length of the diagonal. Length of diagonal, in this case, then, you will realize that if you remember 1 radical 2 ratio for the half of a square, meaning 45, 45, 90 triangle. In order for it to go from here to here, all you have to do is multiply by radical 2. So when you multiply by radical 2, you will realize that the diameter will be equal to 4. Then radius will be equal to 2. Hence, you will end up getting 4 pi once again. Either way would have been fine. All right, let us look at number 3. What is the area of an equilateral triangle with an altitude of 3 inches? Now here, what we end up getting is this. When we are given an equilateral triangle and the altitude, here let us assume that that's equal to 3. Then here, what we end up getting is this. Of course, this becomes a right angle, and this is equal to 60-degree angle. Then what we end up getting is here we have, on one side of the equilateral triangle, we will end up having 30, 60, 90 triangle here once again. So here we end up getting 1, radical 3, and 2. Now, in order for us to find the area, only thing that we need is to find the value of x here. Since in place of x we have 1, in place of 3 we have radical 3, well, proportion which we can set up is this. X to 1 is equal to 3 to square root of 3. Then, once again, here we have x equals, when you simplify this one, you will end up getting square root of 3. Then, the total base becomes 2 times square root of 3 because we have 2 of those. Then we have our answer because area could become 1/2 base, which is 2 square root of 3 times height, which is equal to 3. Therefore, our answer becomes 3 square root of 3. There it goes. All right, let us move on. Number 4. Once again, here this is combination of 2 triangles, 30, 60, 90 triangle, and then 45, 45, 90 triangle. Here you see, once again, the relationship between 45, 45, 90 triangle here would have been 1, 1, radical 2. But in place of radical 2, we have 4. And then what do I call this portion is A and A. Then you will realize that A over 1 is equal to 4 over radical 2. And you will realize that A, when you simplify this one, by multiplying top and bottom by radical 2, then we get 4 radical 2 over 2, which is equal to 2 square root of 2. Now, but when you come to the second section, here, 30, 60, 90 triangle, the ratio becomes 1 radical 3 and 2. So to go from opposite of 30-degree angle to opposite of 90-degree angle, all we have to do is double. Since A value is 2 radical 2, then X value would have been 4 square root of 2. There it goes. Number 5. Now, as soon as we see a right triangle, square, the right triangle which we have to be reminded of would have been 1, 1 square root of 2. That's what we talked about in class. So then here, this side becomes 1. And this side becomes square root of 2. Then, in fact, that is good enough for us to realize the area, ratio of the areas, because if this one were to be 1, then area of A would have been equal to simply 1. But how about area of B? It would be square of radical 2, which simply equals 2. So what is the ratio? Ratio would have been 1, 2, 2. That becomes our answer. Number 6. Find the surface area and then the volume. So let's go for A. How do you find the surface area? It's 2 pi r squared, which means 3 squared, plus 2 pi r, which is 3, times 8. Height. Now, here then we end up having 18 pi, plus here we end up having 48 pi. Then our final answer becomes 66 pi for the surface area. How about the volume? Volume is pi r, which is 3 square times the height, which will be equal to 8. Then once you calculate this one, you will end up getting 72 pi. All right. Now, number B, here, to find the surface area. Surface area is basically a lateral area, which is a side one, plus the area on the bottom. Lateral area is pi r, which is 5, times the slant height. Aha, wait a minute, what is the slant height here? But you will realize that this is a triangle between a right triangle of 5, 12, and then opposite side becomes 13. So slant height we realized to be 13 plus the area of the base, which is pi r squared, which is 5 squared. Then once you calculate this one, we end up getting 65 pi plus 25 pi, which finally becomes 90 pi. Now, volume is 1/3 pi r squared, which is 5 squared, times height, which is equal to 12. But here you will realize that 12 and 3 can cancel out, becomes 4. So we end up getting 100 pi. That becomes our answer for the volume. Alright, let us move on. Now this is a somewhat tough question, but find the volume of the sphere when the length of the edge of the inscribed cube is 4. Then each side will be equal to 4 here, as we can see. Now, the fact that sphere is containing the cube, then we need to find the relationship. What is the relationship? Relationship is the longest side of the cube must be equal to the diameter of the circle. Then what is the longest side? That's when you connect from corner to corner. That will be the longest side. But as we have gone over in class, what is the length of that in a cube? Because each side is equal to 4, then we realize that this length would be 4 square root of 3. In other words, the diameter is 4 square root of 3. Then what's the radius? Radius will be 2 square root of 3. Alright, I think this is good enough for us to start. Because to find the volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. In other words, 4/3 pi r, which is 2 square root of 3 to the third power. Then here, we end up getting 4/3 pi. 2 to the third power becomes 8. And radical 3 to the third power becomes 3 square root of 3. And here, 3 cancels out. We end up getting 32 pi square root of 3. That becomes our final answer. Alright. Number 8. Now once again, to find the volume of the cone, volume is 1/3 pi r square h. Now we need to realize one at a time. What is r? R length of the radius will be simply from here to here. Since this is a cube with a side length of 6, the diameter would have been 6, which makes the radius as 3. What is height? Height, in fact, is the since it's inscribed, that length must be same thing as this length of the side, which is equal to 6. And I think we are done. 1/3 by plugging in 1/3 pi. R will be equal to 3 squared times the height, which will be equal to 6. Now then here, we end up getting 1, 3, and then 3 cancels out. So we have 18 pi as our final answer. Alright, number 9, 27 cubes. It looks like a Rubik's Cube, right? Now, they are all painted red, and then pulled apart. How many individual cubes have the 3 faces painted? 3 faces painted, that simply means we are looking for cubes such as this one. Corner, it has 3 faces painted. That means we have 4 corners on the top. But you will realize that likewise we have 4 corners on the bottom, one which we cannot see in the back. Then when we count all of them, we end up getting total 8 cubes. That becomes our answer. Number 10. Now we have a rectangular box. This is 2 by 5 by 6. Do it halfway, then somewhat about here. That means essentially the height is 3, which we are looking, height of the water. Now, when the water is then poured into the larger tank by 2 by 10 by 6, this is 2 by 10 by 6. Of course, it's not going to fill everything, but let us say it's filling up to here. We have no idea, and then let's call that as h, height of the water. What is the depth of the water? Then we can see that the volume has to be the same in either case. Volume of the water here becomes 2 times 5 times 3. That's the volume. But when you move it on to the new tank, the volume will still be the same. So therefore, we have 10 times 2 times h. Now, once you calculate this one, we'll end up getting here 30 is equal to 20 h. H therefore is equal to 1.5. That becomes our final answer. All right, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Have a nice day, guys.